Hello and welcome to Financial Technology Frontiers Live. It's time for one more conversation on innovations. Innovation, which is very imperative in the roadmap or landscape of Canadian banking, with technologies like RTR coming into picture now, which is definitely going to become a reality. There is a lot happening in the open banking and the payment space. And coupled with this, the Canadian banking sector is also embracing a lot of AI, a lot of uh, preparation towards quantum computing and various other technologies. In midst of all this, let me introduce you to an innovations leader in the Canadian banking space. His name is Mr. Idriss Bouhmouch, and he is heading innovations at the Bank National Canada. Welcome to Financial Technology Frontiers, Idriss.
Thank you very much, Babu. I'm very happy to be here.
Let me just ask you, what have been the challenges that you have faced in identifying and adopting innovation, especially in this era?
Thank you, Babu. And I think to answer that question, it's really important to understand the context of which, having been on the fintech side and now being at National Bank on the corporate side, you really get to see both sides of the equation. And the realities are very different. And in that sense, having that visibility really helps to push innovation forward. Is being very honest with where we're at and what we're trying to accomplish. And one of the elements that stands out, for example, on the financial institution side of it, is appreciating the regulatory environment of which Canadian banks are subject to, and also the reality of on the fintech side trying to innovate at a speed that is very dynamic. And by doing that, sometimes there are learnings that you'll learn down the road, as opposed to planning for it multiple quarters out. So just a couple ideas, things that I've come across in my careers that I'm happy to share. Really, one of the key has been learning how to educate and influence different colleagues, stakeholders, and partners towards a path forward. So the nature of innovation is that it's at times quite unclear what the path is, and really focusing on that education component so you can rally the different stakeholders to have a common alignment has been a wonderful way to get buy-in and execute on a vision. So it really requires to be proactive, be curious, and also open-minded, and kind of listen also what are some of the roadblocks that some of your stakeholders are facing, or what are some of the ambitions that they're looking to achieve. And I think that's a great equalizer, whether it's on the technology side of things or on the business side or the line of business as well. So there's quite a bit there that was quite interesting.
Superb. In fact, as an innovator, one of the biggest challenges that you would face is that ultimately you are ready to innovate, you are bringing in new products, but till the time that is used by the customer or that is adopted by the customer, and that comes with nothing but training, education, literacy, and handholding of the customer as well. And that is a very important piece in your work, I guess so.
Absolutely. And what I've also seen at times is customers understand they have a pain point and they're not quite sure how it will get solved. And I think that's the great challenge of any innovators is really identifying what that pain point is and being creative and deploying a solution, and also keeping an open mind to test and get feedback. So it's a very dynamic, iterative process, and it's a collaborative process also that requires stakeholder alignment and making your customer feel safe and comfortable sharing feedback back to you so you can iterate. So I think there's trust is a huge component to drive innovation at scale.
Yeah, I would, liken your position like that of a parent of a newborn baby. The baby cries but doesn't know where it pains. And you as a parent has to identify where exactly is it paining and what solution can be brought out to that particular baby. And that is probably what you are doing in your innovations activities as well. Now, going beyond this area of open banking, which has been the talk of town for so many years, and we are still in the process of, getting onto it. One of the most important thing is the value proposition that open banking can bring in into the ecosystem of financial services and banks typically. So, to add more value, on one side, when the banks are losing out a lot on their data, maybe a lot on their floats and other things through RTR and other technologies, what are the kind of value additions and open partnerships or that you can see? How are banks preparing for this open banking wave? And what are the next steps in exploring the new possibilities in the context of open banking?
It's a fascinating space and one that I've seen the evolution over time. And one of the elements that is kind of a great equalizer across financial institutions as well as fintechs is the commitment of consent for value. So consumer-led banking really puts the user at the center of the interaction, and as they are owner of their proprietary personal data and banking data, there's a great opportunity to really earn the right to leverage that data to offer better experiences. And that's where the notion of consent for value comes into play. Is the users are incredibly solicited for their data more now than ever, and to fight for that attention, the fintechs and financial institutions that will be able to offer a value proposition that is meaningful to the users will be the ones that will get the buy-in from those audiences. And I think the vision as we kind of go through this process is, how do we offer and enable at scale the ability to offer the right product at the right time? And sometimes those products and services may be through the collaboration of third-party partnerships. So I think my expectation is there's going to be more embedded finance driven types of partnerships in the space. I think we're going to be leveraging a lot of creativity to um, to nail down that consent for value piece, and security is always going to be top of mind. So that way, that trust could continue to build, and the right measures are being put in place to ensure that customers can withdraw their consent and have confidence that their data is protected and is serving them, as opposed to another third party.
Superb. And one of the most important thing that happens is this in this entire ecosystem, of course, the customer has to be in control of his own data. Okay. And globally, what I have seen is at the center of all this to empower the customer is like a aggregator, data aggregator, whose job is he is appointed by the regulator himself, and who is responsible for sharing the data from the respective banks based on the consent by the customer to ensure that there is a very smooth distribution of data or information and only to the extent what is required, so that there is total safety of data of the customer. And I'm sure something of that sort would also come into the Canadian banking and financial landscape as well. Am I right?
I think that's the vision. Now, timing is a process that is perhaps outside of a lot of fintechs and financial institutions. However, more and more, what I'm seeing is there is a preparation for what is clearly in demand in the marketplace. So I think we're seeing industry get ready for the legislation to follow afterwards. And the great equalizer there is really keeping the customer at the center of the activities. And if we're able to continue to champion choice and transparency and offer meaningful experiences, then I think that's how we're going to get to scale as an industry on the topic.
Superb. And from a industry practitioner perspective, what are those typical partnerships that you think make a lot of sense now with open banking and RTR making inroads into the innovation space in banking sector?
There's a wide range of partnerships that we're seeing in the industry. Just to name a few, for example, Flinks launching Outbound, which National Bank was the first to integrate, and since then, Flinks has onboarded multiple financial institutions since. I think it's a great signal to the market that there's demand and infrastructure that's being put in place to be able to leverage those those experiences and build new business models. The other element too that I'm seeing a lot of activities with regards to VC firms. So notably, for example, Any Ventures is a group here at National Bank, which is our capital investing arm, has invested in tech innovators. So that's another types of partnership on the scope of which you're seeing types of partnerships. It really varies from retail to small business banking all the way to the commercial side. So I think every segment will be disrupted at different levels. So I think there's also going to be a lot of value in the partnerships that are going to be able to create a certain level of convergence and offer valuable experiences across those segments, so that way the customer feels like it's a 360 experience and not something that's a little bit more fragmented. So that's certainly one of the elements that I'd expect to see in the industry. And finally, I think there's going to be a big opportunities in co-creating innovation, where fintechs and financials are going to be able to come together and build new experiences and projects. So I think that collaboration is something that will be able to leverage both the agility of the fintechs and perhaps some new word type of knowledge and expertise, but also the trust and the regulatory compliancy that you're seeing on the financial institution side of regulated banks, which is a tremendous asset as well if we're looking to implement some of these solutions. So I think creativity and collaborations are two themes that really kind of resonate to your point, Babu.
Excellent. See, one of the most important challenges that most of the banks face, of course, you are not as big as an RBC or any of those large banks which come with loads of budget. Okay. On the other side, you are one of those mid-level banks which are definitely making your ends meet as well as innovate and invest into a lot more innovations. So there are a lot of challenges that banks like you would come across where you cannot go over the board and invest into innovation. At the same time, you have to fight the challenges from the fintech and from the challenger banks that are in the country who are really onboarding tons and tons of fintechs and trying to see how they can innovate in all these spaces of payments and innovation. So, what are the kind of business challenges and innovation needs that you see in the near future, and how are you working around it?
Take a moment and lay the environment of which you're asking about. So one of the elements at National Bank that really sets us apart is our ability to be quite strategic in the projects and partnerships that we take on. I would refute the element of investing in innovation. Rather, our agility allows us to be even more quicker to market with innovative projects because we have that size. So being sixth market cap in the country also gives us quite a bit of weight across provinces and lines of business. I would flip the question almost, and our view is really looking at it from an opportunity perspective and working with partners that have that alignment and that buy-in. So the nature of innovation is you cannot be deploying on every single opportunity all of the time. The idea is that you want to pick and choose which ones you can have the best impact and really be available to support your partners through that. So I think less is more and actually drives more impact. So that's been my experience in my career across working with financial institutions and on the fintech side. So we really see a lot of opportunities. We're open, whether it's through our partnerships here at NBC or through our Any Ventures group, to really welcome and have conversation with industry players to accelerate the impact that we can have. So that's something that we're very proactive and certainly would welcome any of your readers and people that participate in the podcast to reach out, because this is something that we have conversations all the time, and beyond conversations there are some very meaningful and tangible projects that have been deployed and shared with the market. So National Bank is quite innovative in that sense. We're a bank that has been seeded with a DNA of entrepreneurship. So when it comes to doing things with care and also impact, that's certainly part of our DNA. Now, I think the nature of the environment is one that all players have to compose with. But we've been very fortunate with the partners that we've worked with that we can really have meaningful impact for our customers and be a champion of positive change in the marketplace.
Interesting. And I think you are rightfully invested into the right kind of fintechs as well, whichever makes sense to your business to power your business to the next level. Having said that, do you also have any kind of sandboxes that you operate within your own bank, or you just try to onboard through various innovations through various programs that you have?
Yeah, it's a great question and certainly one um, that we keep an eye on in terms of the different ecosystems of innovation in the country. So we're very close and involved with different incubators, different fintech ecosystems. Our tech banking group is also very active. So across multiple markets. So really the ability to be present and accessible. And also generous with our feedback and what we see in terms of insight. So the idea is we want to work with partners that have that alignment of vision, and there's a cultural, I would say, opportunity on the business community to embrace responsible risk taking, but also having a why that's quite compelling. So I think a lot of the partners that which with whom we grow with and support have a very clear why, and their impact is undeniable. So it's a privilege to be able to work with those builders and also to consolidate a lot of the insights that we'd be getting across an industry and then empower them as well in their journey. As you know, builders have multiple challenges at different levels very frequently, and having a team behind them that believes in them and that is a true ally is really how we're able to make such a meaningful difference.
Superb. How are banks preparing to harness this data from open banking to create new opportunities or enhance customer experiences or drive innovations? So, what is your vision for Canada's financial ecosystem while embracing an integrated data powered future?
My hypothesis and what I've seen in the industry, particularly in Canada, is that we need to facilitate interoperability, and FDX as a standard, which is already a massive player in North America, will likely be adopted widely in the industry. And I think we are expecting the Canadian government to finalize and appoint a technical standard, which will really kind of facilitate the next steps and the momentum. The bank, National Bank, is a member of FDX at this time. In fact, my colleague Natasha Boudrias has been acting on the board of FDX until recently. So we're very involved in policymaking and empowering the industry as a whole. So we take that role of champion quite to heart. And the idea is to really um, encourage and facilitate as an industry a level of collaboration that maintains the user at the center of our activities and our innovation. And I think that's why they will be benefiting the most is really through that collaborative approach.
Super. And I think collaboration and ecosystem is the way to grow because I don't think one person can bring in everything under the sun into the organization. And it is especially open banking itself is a collaboration ecosystem. And rather treating it as a threat, if you can use it as an opportunity and leverage the strengths of others to better your position, I think that is the best kind of win-win situation for all in this ecosystem. And how smartly, skillfully, and collaboratively you do this is what makes the difference for success.
It's a great perspective, and in short, it definitely will take a village to bring this vision to.
Absolutely. And I feel that why only banks, even if you collaborate well with the insurance, lending companies or the other key fintechs in the ecosystem and make it a real great village, value village in open banking. That is where the customer wins, the bank wins, and the overall ecosystem wins. So I wish you all the luck in the innovations game. It is a daily changing goalpost, and I'm sure you are preparing day by day for all the new challenges that are coming in. And we look forward to see a lot of interesting conversations from you. Thank you so much, Idriss.
Thank you so much, Babu. It's been a pleasure.